My misogynistic gym teacher wouldn't let me go to the nurse when I had lady troubles, so I showed him what real trouble looks like. I was playing kickball in PE when I landed wrong while running and felt huge pop in my ankle. The pain shot up my leg like lightning, but I tried to walk it off because that's what you're supposed to do in sports. Mr. Brock was our gym teacher, and he had this thing about girls being weak and dramatic. He'd already made 3 girls cry that semester by calling them princesses when they couldn't do as many push-ups as the boys. My ankle was throbbing and starting to feel weird and unstable when I walked. I'd never sprained anything before, so I wasn't sure if this was normal soreness or something worse. When I limped over to Mr. Brock and asked if I could sit out for a minute, he rolled his eyes so hard I thought they might fall out of his head. He was wearing his usual outfit of track pants and a whistle that he loved blowing directly in kids' faces. "Let me guess, you broke a nail?" he said loud enough for everyone to hear. The other kids stopped playing and turned to watch. My friend Rosa tried to speak up for me, but Mr. Brock cut her off with his whistle. He walked over to me with his clipboard, and that smirk he always had when he was about to say something awful to the girls in class. "This is exactly what I'm talking about," he announced to everyone like he was giving some important speech. "Girls always looking for excuses to sit out, always wanting special treatment because you have lady problems. You're fine, get back in line." My ankle was already starting to swell inside my shoe, and every step felt like someone was stabbing me with a hot knife. But he stood there with his arms crossed waiting for me to move. I limped back to my position, trying not to cry from the pain. Some of the boys were looking uncomfortable, and Jake actually said something about how I was clearly hurt. Mr. Brock told him to mind his own business unless he wanted to run laps after class. Rosa kept shooting me worried looks as I stood there trying to keep weight off my right foot. When it was my turn to kick again, I could barely walk up to the plate. The pitcher rolled the ball slowly, trying to be nice, but I still had to plant my bad foot to kick with my good one. The pain was so intense I saw white spots in my vision. Mr. Brock was standing off to the side, yelling about how I needed to stop being such a typical girl and toughen up for once in my life. The next round I was up again, and by now my ankle had swollen so much my shoe felt like it was cutting off circulation. Everyone could see me limping, and several kids had tried to convince Mr. Brock to let me go to the nurse. He responded by making the whole class do jumping jacks while lecturing about how his generation didn't raise quitters and weaklings. I approached the plate for my third kick, barely able to put any weight on my foot. Mr. Brock had moved closer to home base to yell at me better. He was going on about how girls these days were too soft and needed to learn about pushing through discomfort. The pitcher rolled the ball, and I knew I had to kick it or he'd never let me leave. I planted my injured foot and swung my good leg as hard as I could. The pain from my ankle made me kick weird, and instead of going forward, the ball shot sideways at an angle. It happened so fast nobody could react. The red rubber ball flew directly into Mr. Brock's face with a sound like someone slapping a watermelon. His nose made a crunching sound, and blood immediately started pouring down his face. He dropped to his knees, holding his nose while blood ran through his fingers. Everyone froze for a second before Rosa ran to get the nurse. Mr. Brock was making these weird moaning sounds, and his eyes were watering so bad he couldn't see. When the nurse arrived, she took one look at his obviously broken nose and called for another teacher to watch the class. While they were dealing with Mr. Brock, the nurse finally looked at my ankle. When she pulled off my shoe, her face went pale. My ankle was purple and black and swollen to twice its normal size. She said it was one of the worst sprains she'd seen in 20 years of working at schools. She couldn't believe I'd been walking on it, let alone playing kickball. The principal launched an investigation after parents found out what happened. Turns out I wasn't the first girl Mr. Brock had forced to play through an injury. 3 other girls came forward with similar stories, including one who'd fractured her wrist, and he'd told her it's because of the birth control she takes. The school board put him on administrative leave while they investigated, and he never came back.